Vipers Voices at the end of the 10th and final match of the group stage for the Desert Vipers, and it's ended up with a 6-wicket win for the side, and that was against the Sharjah Warriors here in Sharjah. It was a rain-affected match. The match was actually 18 overs aside because of a delayed beginning. But in the end, a very comfortable win for the Vipers with 5 overs and 1 ball to spare. I've got James Foster alongside me, the head coach. And James, I guess because the match didn't really have anything on it in terms of a final placing, if you like, within the top 4, let's talk about the season as a whole. The side hasn't qualified for the playoffs, didn't make that top 4 spot, but I guess it's just a matter of a few balls here and there, isn't it? Because 2 last ball finishes against the Dubai Capitals that went the wrong way, and if those had gone the other way, then you could even be talking about a top 2 finish.
Yeah, it's a game of very small, fine margins, isn't it? But look, I mean, it's, I also look at it. I think we were so close, but yet so far in a way. I do feel we didn't play particularly well during this campaign. There was moments of brilliance. There's moments of brilliance within all of our games, actually. Positions that we got into in a lot of games that we lost, which were sort of key A1 positions, which we unfortunately couldn't capitalise. And, if you want to be a good team, you have to be able to take those opportunities more often than not. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that, and hence the situation that we're in.
In terms of batting, just looking at that over the tournament as a whole, just 1 score over 170, 7 scores individually of 50 or more. Was that really the crux of it, the fact that the side couldn't go big?
I think the pitches were quite challenging, especially in Dubai and also here in Sharjah. They weren't easy, your typical T20 wickets, which you often play around the world, but we fully aware of that. We understood how it operated last year. We're very aware of how it's going to operate this year as well. The wickets were very consistent in that manner, actually. But the reality was we just kept losing momentum with the bat. It's not so much the big scores. Yes, there were easily opportunities where we should have got big scores, no doubt. But the challenge was we're often in great positions. And then we'd often lose wickets in clusters, which really sort of hampered finishing strong in innings, which really made it very difficult for us. And you look back in it, and if you look at a lot of the games, that's what happened game after game, which was frustration from a team. The team were feeling the frustration. As coaches, you feel frustrated because you want to try and make a difference. But it just wasn't to be, and we just weren't clinical and smart enough with our decision making with the bat, and that's really just cost us.
I guess you weren't helped as well by the comings and goings. Players were missing for the first game. The Pakistanis, Shaheen Sharafridi, Azam Khan, Shadab Khan, they had to leave early as well. Hasaranga had to leave early, so that certainly didn't help things, did it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it doesn't help, but we've still got a world-class squad. So, and especially in sort of T20 franchise cricket these days, that sort of turnover, whilst maybe a little bit more this year, and maybe in most comps as well, but it's quite normal. And the group's strong enough to adapt. We had a very strong group. So I wouldn't put that down as a huge factor. Of course, it's a factor because you want a consistent squad and you want to pick from the same 18 or 20, 22 that sometimes we might have around with us the whole time. But it's, again, it's quite a normal thing. So, it's just, look, I sit here and I see the way we played today, and we played really well today, which in a way has actually made me feel a little bit disappointed and sad, because you kind of look at it and think, geez, what could have been. But look, we'll dust ourselves down. We'll come back again next season. We'll work hard, again with our recruitment and the build up to next season, and give it a red hot crack next year.
bowling reasonably content with that, given that quite often the bowlers didn't have a lot of runs to play with?
Look, there was, again, moments of brilliance. I felt at times we weren't quite disciplined enough, especially with the new ball. Like, I mean, we naturally an aggressive attacking bowling unit with that new ball. But one thing, which again we discussed, but what we failed to realise, failed to execute with, was bringing our length back when it wasn't swinging. And I felt at times we just sort of gave too many easy runs rather than the opposition working for their runs, especially in that sort of power play phase. But it doesn't always work out. We know that, but I think just the combination of how we were both operating with bat and ball at times, we didn't quite have the clinical side of it and that smartness with bat and ball, which effectively cost us.
The Super Sub, that was throughout the tournament. You've played with that. Now we've reached this point in time. What are your reflections on that?
Not too sure, really. I mean, I'm not sure how to necessarily answer that question.
Well, I'm just thinking, for example, of someone like Shafane Rutherford. He was often the player who was subbed in as a batter. How do you think he responded to the fact that he was having to sit down for 20 overs and then all of a sudden switch on as a batter?
I mean, and if you bear in mind, if he's batting in the middle of the lower order, you're looking potentially 30 overs not involved in the game. It's not ideal, Look, it'll be nice in a way to rotate that, but then sometimes through injury or personnel, we have to be smart with who that person is. Ruz came and fielded for a couple of games, then got a little bit tight in his hammy in the same area that he was last year, so we had to box smart. But yet, in the same breath, it's not ideal for Ruz because you want to be involved in the game. But yeah, look, I mean, the Super Sub, I was involved with it in the IPL last season. Do I answer this? I'm not necessarily a big fan of the Super Sub. I like it 11 being 11, and the challenge of your team and your squad is to try and pick a balanced side from that. I enjoy that element, and then sort of having the extra player just takes that sort of fun out of it a little bit. But I guess it's interesting in a way, because if you're say batting and this doesn't go to plan, you can afford to maybe take a bowler out and put an extra batter in to try and save you. Personally, I would have really liked it to have been the Super Sub for the UAE players rather than necessarily the overseas players. I think that would have been really cool addition to the season for UAE cricket.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? What about one thing you'd change, or multiple things, aside from the results, of course? Anything you would change to reflect on what's happened, to think, well, if we'd done that, maybe things would have worked out a little bit differently?
Look, I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about this over the last couple of weeks, trying to find solutions, and look, I've definitely thought of various bits and pieces. Again, probably not necessarily to share on here, but it's always an opportunity to reflect. You reflect as a side, players individually, and the coaches and myself as leading this team. 100%. I look back at this season, areas that possibly could change or tweak. You're right. Look, hindsight is a beautiful thing, but I think as players and coaches, you always want to keep evolving, and you want to be listening and tapping on the experience, and maybe looking at alternative ways of maybe doing things. But also in the same breath, at times you've got to trust what you do, and you've got to sort of back the method and the belief that you have, for example, as a coach. So just trying to get that little balance right. But 100%, I'll be sitting back, I'll be reflecting when I go home tomorrow. I mean, I've already spent a bit of time doing that already. So, but yeah, it's a cool thing. Look, the season didn't go as we wanted. 100%. Very disappointed. The players disappointed. But then when the things don't go quite to plan, it gives an opportunity, especially for someone like myself, to analyse, review, reflect, and hopefully come back a better coach.
Positives, thinking along the lines of Ali Nazir getting opportunities after he missed the beginning of the tournament because of a hamstring niggle, but he really came to the fore with bat and ball. Any other positives as well as Ali? Perhaps you'd like to speak about him first.
Well, he's a fine young talent, no doubt about that. It's a shame, obviously, picking up the injury for the first game hampered his development this campaign, and us as a side as well. We really needed that sort of that bowling position early on in the competition. Then later on, we had to sort of rejuggle the pack, so to speak. Yeah, you know, he's a real talent. But the exciting thing for me is that I think he's got huge areas that he can work on, and I see that as a positive, not a negative. I think that's a very exciting opportunity for him. Various areas which have been discussed about, which I think can take his game and onto huge strides. You know, other players within the group, I'd say there at times there's been some excellent performances, but I'd say the consistent element of that wasn't there. You know, you saw some standout overs from Matisse with the ball, sort of, especially in some death overs, only going for 2 or 3 runs and almost winning us a game against Dubai. In the first game against them, I was super impressed with the way Salty came in. I know he's with us just for 2 games, but the intensity he brought behind the stumps and when he fielded today, and just his aggression with the bat was pretty impressive. And you saw that was probably kick-started Halsey as well, got him going, and they have a good relationship and spent a fair bit of time together in the past playing for England and some other franchises. But I thought Halsey really grew into the tournament as it got on. I thought the positions he got into really helped him. And when I mean position, I'm talking about technical positions. And then I thought Hasaranga was a joke. You know, he's an absolute star. You know, he performed so well for us last season. Again this year, always get thrown the ball. Made some huge contributions with the bat as well. Really, I felt took our game forward. So huge kudos to Hass. And then it's important probably to touch. Look, there's some other really key performers, but I thought South. I was really impressed with South. First time I've worked with him. Obviously, Moose has worked with him for the last couple of years in the 100. He was a big fan of South, and I can absolutely see why. It's really good to see him firsthand, the way he operates. The way he bowls, a very smart bowler, his intensity again around the group, constantly giving to the team bucket, which is an absolute credit to him and he's this type of character that you absolutely die for to have on your side.
Sustainability, that was a big theme just behind you there in the dugout. We've got the water filter, so no plastic bottles around here. Was it a distraction?
Not at all. I mean, it's a great initiative. It's absolutely brilliant. I thought it was actually a slick operation from a playing point of view, a support staff point of view. Having all the bottles, having the refillable stations here, I think it's a huge step in the right direction. And I'll be surprised if other, not just cricketing franchise teams, but other sports around the world will probably take the lead that Desert Vipers has started.
Just finally, planning for season 3 starts now?
Look, I think first of all we'll probably just think about this season first and continue to sort of dissect this season. But then first, with regards planning for season 3, first of all we just need to know what the rules are for the leagues in terms of your squad and is it retentions, are players going back in, is there a draft, is there an ODRA? So all those sort of things first. Until we know that, it's difficult to make big calls. So look, I think it's just give it a little bit of time to digest the season, and then when the moment's right, we'll come together as a coaching group and management group and start planning.
So there we are, the end of season 2 from a Desert Vipers perspective. A disappointing end given the team hasn't made the playoffs, but still all the same, a win in the last match against the Sharjah Warriors by 6 wickets. We're very grateful for you for joining us throughout the course of this second season of the DP World ILT20, and we look forward to your company again in the future.